Ugh, goodness. Only got the sniffles. Guess I'm allergic to streaming. Gotta level up and I never cashed it in. Did a lot of robot building and I'm all out of stuff again. I also remembered to make a second reactor. What are we doing now? Voodoo!
Meow squan belly, meow squan belly, meow squan belly, meow squan belly, meow squan belly.
Yes, Gwen Belly indeed. Thank you for your continued support. I appreciate you many much. 17 months. Feels like it's been so much longer. Wait a minute. I do thank you. And I don't know how to express my feelings any further than that. But I really do appreciate it. That's a lot of suiciders, which means that's a lot of free mini nukes. Unless they explode like that. At least I get nuclear material. There's some place called Malden Middle School. And I'll be honest, I don't know if I've ever been there in my times playing through the game. Shaw High School. Is that the paste one? I don't know. All I know is it's on the list of places I gotta grab a bobble at.
Hey.
Hey, buddy. You looking to earn some caps?
Sure.
Then I've got the job for you. I've got a lead on a crash site. Big old jet. That much scrap could be worth a lot to the right buyer. Trouble is, some raiders are holed up in it. Help me run them off, and I'll give you a cut of the profit. How about 50 cap?
Come on. Make it work.
100.
You can do better than that.
150.
Last chance. 200.
You drive a hard bargain. 200. That's my final offer.
I'm in.
All right. There's a little ridge just south of the crash site. Meet me there. And we'll take
The
them
arms
on.
Owie.
Cornet pelted me out with a coin.
Teleportation, yeah. Shabba-da-doo-wah. Give me my loot.
Perfect.
I do like me some freebies. Just down. So, there they are.
Ness.
There you are. Beginning to think you wouldn't show.
Well, I'm here now.
Let's get started. like we're up against 10 Raiders. 5 in the plane, 5 on patrol. Expect the others to come running once the shooting starts. Stick together, keep your heads down, and clear that plane. Now move! 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 You're mine now!
Some luck. Keep your eyes open.
Take cover! Defend the plane!
I'm gonna tear your fucking throat out.
Yes.
Find 'em.
Think I'm scared? Huh?
Called you.
This karma's paying off.
Kill the plane! Make sure there aren't any survivors! Here we go. Looks like it's still intact. What do you know?
Pin.
Got it. Hey, Ness.
Huh? What is... Oh, right. Okay. Here. Just like we agreed.
Is that a secret compartment? All right, Ness. What's really going on here?
Keep your voice. All right. Look. Skylanes was a smuggling operation. Near as I can tell, the whole company was in on it before the war. Used their passenger flights to cover it up. I've been looking for these wrecks for years. Keep selling metal for scrap. Can I count on you to keep this quiet?
Throw in another 100 caps.
Here.
All right, deal.
Now get lost.
Alright, back to a regularly scheduled adventure. What I'm expecting. Oh, I think we might actually be close. Pretty sure the place was Malden. Slocum Joe. There we are. Malden Middle School. There's like a vault under here, and in that vault has a bauble. I don't remember what bauble, just that there's a bauble. I don't think it's any of the baubles we're like really interested in. But again, it's a bauble. After this, I'll probably look for Gunner Plaza, because that one has the small guns bauble. I'll have to check my notes to see if there's anything else, because I plan on grabbing the medicine bauble like second to last, and the last one's going to be the energy weapons bauble, because that requires us to progress story, and I don't want to progress the story.
Get some!
You're still living? Takes a lot of girth to survive a belly bounce from me. Give me that tuxedo. This is Malden's Elementary, but this is Malden's Middle. Gosh dang it, Bethesda, can you not stay consistent? This is a quest. Yeah, I don't think I've ever been here.
Lock and load.
Don't have the card.
Thank you, Bethesda.
Who's there? We're hot.
No, you're not. You wish you were. Oh, look at Power Fist. I still find it sad and hilarious at the same time that I believe Bethesda were the ones that made the Power Fist to begin with, and they made it to look good with power armor in Fallout 3. And now in Fallout 4, you can't use a Power Fist with power armor. It also looks completely fucking hideous. And again, I have to iterate, it's... People don't typically want to shit on Bethesda. It's just everyone's frustrated and fed up. Because they used to be a good company, but they just don't give a shit anymore. I do not want your shitty stick. Take it back. And yeah, I'm carrying around the Deathclaw Gauntlet for the lulz. But I do genuinely wish I could use the unarmed weapons. Like, even if you don't have a arm equipped for the power armor, you're still not allowed to wear the power fists or gauntlet or anything.
Starting course in 3, 2, 1. Begin.
What?
That's it.
Dare I see what this shows?
You know, testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3, fucking Bethesda. Fucking Bethesda. Fucking Bethesda! I should have sold out to Ubisoft. That's what I should have done. Oh, you don't even know, bitch. Jeff Keighley? Yeah, I saw his dick get sucked on Epstein's Island. Woo!
Okay, I got this. I definitely think Kirito's a fucking loser. I don't even gotta act.
Oh, fuck. Alright, well, I gotta work on...
You know, if Bethesda was cool, they'd hide something up here. Like a nifty sniper rifle or something. But no, they are lame.
Starting course in 3,
Did I get the high score? Yes, I did. So, what's to do with the vault? They're training super soldiers or something? Why has it got trash and shit everywhere? DG, get out of my laboratory. Hua, hua, hua. No. Holy shit, man. Yeehaw! Hey, the bubble. Okay. The one extra guess. You know, these guys were in here and watched me get the best time on the military course with the Gatling laser. Do you think they would, like, realistically, wouldn't they try to recruit me rather than try to piss me off? I mean, look at me. You have nothing more than a security baton. Do you charge this man head on? Especially when he whips out this thing. Like, I straight up look like I'm from Warhammer 40k. And then I got this dinky little thing. Here comes the lore trademark copyright. Okay then. After we're done in here, I'll probably go make myself another cup of coffee. And everybody's dead for some reason. I might need to take an emergency bio break. So I might just make my coffee during that. Because my innards are suddenly being very grumpy with me. Bitch. Take that Ripper. Good money. Alright. Let's see. Why did this place explode? It's outlining a military program. Who would have guessed? It's improvement to the human genome. Refinement of human genetics. Yeah. Rapid rate. Combination of selective breeding, hormonal treatments, genetic modification, generational cycle. About 75 or due to the matters. Outcome subjects disposed. Changing accurate scoring is superior. Excellent across key physical escort to genomics laboratory. Okay, processing should be done on an individual. Remember that successful subjects like staff. Vaccinations necessary and avoid arousing against. Further processing which indicates to scientific staff. Yeah. Okay.
Lock tight.
Huh? Good dad.
Pew pew. No. I was going to take it for selling. It's just too much. Alright, well you tell me. What, that's a quest? Just read the Overseer's Terminal? You did it, congratulations. Bro, how does steel catch fire? They just expect me to buy that the place just caught fire, then everybody died? Really? I came in, right? Yeah. Dual sledgehammer. We're going to have to take some drugs. I have become addicted. Oh no. Anyway. By the way, I want you guys to memorize how much I'm pulling what we should be doing in this game versus what it's going to be like when we do New Vegas. Because I'm literally displaying how much choice there actually is in things in the two games comparatively. Granted, we're probably not going to be doing New Vegas for a bit. Because, you know, Path of Exile 2 update and all that. But once I chill out with that, we'll either continue this or move on to something else. Okay, my organs are telling me it's time for our bio break. So, back in a bit. Let me put something else on for you. Cause I'm gonna make me my coffee. All right.
Nice.
Maintenance. Bro, really? check on the water. Give that a few minutes. Why did they build a playground next to the reactor? This vault is stupid.
Won't be able to pick this.
Then what, pray tell, was the key for? Okay, so let me get this straight. This is a vault that was for training kids to be as athletic and smart as they can. And then the researchers harvest the genes and then throw them into some ephemeral incinerator somewhere. And just keep breeding the strongest, bestest test tube babies they can get. Then one day, their server catches on fire. The end. Okay. And again, they built a playground next to the fucking reactor for the vault for reasons unknown. And the entire... Why was there a quest for this? There wasn't a quest to be had. You walk in, you get handed this quest. Look what happened to the vault. You go to the Overseer's terminal. You did it. Good job. Nothing happened. Here's 400 XP. Yeah, okay. It's not that the vault existed or anything like that, or that it was completely fucking stupid. It's that it drew an entire quest to itself, despite the fact that there's no reason for there to be a quest. I'm gonna go pour my coffee now. I'll give that a couple minutes. Take a small bit to drip. Sunlight, disgusting. Yes, exactly, Voodle. Yeah, I wanted to see what the tuxedo looks like. Yeah. Actually, yeah. Just leave it how it is. Where are you, Corla?
Seems to be growing well.
Orla is still not here. Alright, I'm going to ring the bell to make those goobers get out of my way.
Seems to be growing well.
My harvest is too plentiful, and my arms are weak. Why the hell are you over here? Fuck off. Let me grab my plums in peace. I don't know what mute fruit was supposed to be. That should be all. All I know is for some reason you need it to make vegetable starch. And potatoes I can understand because they're supposed to be like a cross of potatoes and tomatoes. And corn as well. Because, you know, cornstarch and potato starch are both things people typically use for starch. But why mute fruit? Why not razor grain? I don't really know of very starchy fruits out there. Alright, Diamond City, I guess. I'll go grab my coffee cup.
Nice day, huh? Nice piece you got there. A long range. Sure. Let's see what you have. Something for.
Screws. Gamma rounds. 44s. Ruth, the Right Ripper. Those. Those. Get rid of those. Get rid of that. Gonna have these. Renegade Mesca. Well, there you are, Carla.
Carla.
You again.
Oh wait, I'm looking at the wrong side. Where are my Mullims? Gourds.
Carla.
You again. Here to
Let's see what you have.
always happy.
Always happy to make a sale, stranger. Give me ceramics, screws, circuitry, crystal. Alright. Then you can have these drugs. These bullets. Oh, so a little bit too much. Okay. Give me my Assaultion torsos back. I'll store those for the winter. And let's make one more robot for the farm. Use the left hand space laser. I have like 1 billion of those for some reason. Ah, must be red space laser there. Cecil Lord, thank you for that follow. You can chat with me on Discord if you subscribe. Nothing personal. Just gotta be wary of bots. So I don't just accept everyone that comes up. Do I have anything that I already have like made? It's time for me to be cheap. No. Delicious. Good, no voice. Then you will be Davy. And you will be the last farmer I should need. There's that carrot. There's like a lone carrot that does not have. There we go. Now every single resource should have someone assigned to it. Next big project is going to be putting robots between each settlement. And also acquiring each settlement probably. But we're not as worried about that. What do we have? Only have Gunslinger 2. You need a minimum of Gunslinger 3 before you can start doing anything with the Western Revolver. Alright, what do we got? Gunner Plaza and Trinity Tower. Then we're going to Vault 81 to get Curie and the med bauble, and then we'll begrudgingly do the story up to the point of getting the energy bauble. I'll even ignore killing Kellogg if I can help it. I believe the bauble is inside his boss fight arena. I'm doing Gunner Plaza and Trinity Tower. I can't remember exactly where Gunner Plaza is, but I want to say it's somewhere close-ish to this. And yes, it really does bother me that I can't go to unarmed like this. It just won't let me. I can't equip no item. I have to click an existing item. I can't do something like click the same item twice so that it goes, okay, I'm going to unequip. No. It has to be. Is that star over there? Is that where the Gunner Plaza is? Western Estate. Now it's time to fight Crab! I hope you are getting pumped up like I am, Sam. I know you love watching me punch crabs. Crab Puncher 9000.
There we go.
I think something's underneath the floorboards. And I take it these items are like for a quest or something. Is there anything else here? Soap. And maybe they're just something the baseball guy in town wants. It's like, hey, bring these to me and I'll give you 5 caps. Gee, thanks, game. I love how you value things inconsistently. There we go, we roadkill him back into this plane of reality. Yeah, they have to be. Baseball. I know there's a legendary baseball bat you can get from some sort of time capsule thing that the guy wants, that if you go up to him with it, he'll be like, oh, I'll give you 100 caps. And the thing is that baseball bat's actually really good. And yeah, I say that about a bunch of things, mostly in relation to anything that isn't an unarmed weapon. But it really is that good. It has an effect where you have a chance of anything you hit with it will be sent flying. And usually that also is just like instant death for them. It's Pine. Rugby. It's a good thing those mini nukes beep when someone's trying to suicide bomb with them. It'd be real inconvenient if they just snuck up on you. Bitch. Alright, who's asking for it? Smile. Nuclear material? What? He didn't explode though! I want my mini nuke! What a ripoff. I hate spotlights. Not because they show you or anything, but because of the noise they make. It just irritates me. Just one of those sounds that makes me just go a bit feral. You know? You know what? I'm going to make another poll for Far Harbor. Nice poll. Kill Adam and Robots. Doc. Neither. Both. I'm gonna allow people to vote because we've already got the thing of hello, Fallout 4? Okay. It's being weird. Anyway.
Security's too good.
My train of thought has derailed.
Perfect. Message to Claire Pazinski. Time to start thinking about a vacation. How does 6 weeks in Ireland sound to you? Dublin, Galway Bay, Waterford. Maybe a week in that little bed and breakfast in Kilkenny. And don't worry, we don't have to take my cousin Stephen with us. Let him get out of the country on his own. I told him to threaten that cop, not blast him in the face with a shotgun. He can rot in that abandoned fishery down in Union Wharf for all I care. Love you. Eddie Winter, signing off.
Okay, so this wasn't the Gunner Plaza. And by the way, regardless of who we kill for Farber, it really doesn't matter in the end. It's not going to have a grand change on the world. It's better choice than like the main game. Some people criticize and say, no, Far Harbor is just as bad as the main game, but I argue against that. I do genuinely think Far Harbor is better than the base game of Fallout 4. Even if it is retreading the same beats, it's at least doing it a little bit better. Like, Fallout 4's main story factions are like half a point, like half a star out of 5. And Far Harbor's like 1, maybe 1.5 stars out of 5. Like, it's still a stupid story, don't get me wrong. It's just not as stupid. Shiny Pokemons. Give me your Schmeat. Don't you run away from me, bitch! You see, it's funny because it's a dog. And female dogs are called bitches. Sows. I wonder how much a BB gun goes for these days. BB guns are fun. I wonder if I can get a BB gun and that looks like a Magnum. Maybe I'll look that up on Amazon later, just for the funsies. Remember being on my grandfather's farm. He had a BB gun and a little target that I could pew at. Anyways, back to looking for Gunner Plaza. Silt bean. I don't know why you're not allowed to grow silt beans. It really bugs me. Because, like, beans are a staple of the human diet. It's one of our main sources of protein when we can't get meat. Like, humans need to eat meat to get all the nutritional benefits it provides, not just protein. But beans are a good thing to hold you over between things. Because you don't need to eat meat every day or anything. You know, that's one thing that they didn't bring back, isn't it? The BB gun. In fact, there's like a lot of weapons that are just gone in this game. It's actually so bare bones. They only put like fun weapons in with like the DLCs. And they level gate so many damn things. Yeehaw! Come on, let me do a pistol whip finisher. Then let me do it. Get off my property. Neither. Okay, so we're just killing the children of Adam then. You want to know something funny about the acrobat enchantment on those pieces of armor? If you wear 2 of them, you are immune to fall damage even without power armor. Yeehaw. And if you're wondering, yes, that pole is going to be the final choice that you guys can vote on in this game, because there really isn't any other choice. And you may be wondering, hey, what if we want to vote for the story? Well, 1, I'm likely not going to be finishing the story, and 2, I've already explained long ago why I'm never going to choose anyone other than the Institute. I completely despise the Brotherhood of Steel in this game, and I completely despise the Railroad, and have already deleted the faction from the face of the planet. And 3, I do not plan to advance the story beyond getting Nick back to the agency so he can summon Dogmeat.
Yes.
And then the door to the basement of the one place will be unblocked magically. Of which we go down and grab the energy weapon. Bobble.
Excuse me.
Hello? Who am I talking to? Jamaica Plain is weird. It's a settlement. I just don't remember where the settlement bench is. Yeehaw. Huh? You'll probably go to 3 hours today. So, 1 more hour. Which should roughly be enough time for me to find this damn bench. Yeehaw.
Got it. Don't think I can take this.
Oh yeah, I think this is the place, isn't it?
Lock's really strong.
Where, that time capsule. Ah, here we go.
Damn it. Worthless bastards. Scattered like rat roaches the moment they saw the first pool. I've spent months prepping for this op. There's no way I'm backing out now. This treasure will be mine. Even if I have to dig it up with my own bare hands.
Thank you. That was truly a life-altering experience there. You don't happen to have the key on you, do you? No. That would be too easy. Oh yeah, isn't the settlement like ridiculously tiny? Let's see, you can't go. You get like one city block worth of space. Oh, and this is the system that Emile Pagliarillo used as an excuse to half-ass the story. You know what? We're gonna put on a video by Kretosis.
The quality of Bethesda's games have been going down with each release for near 2 decades now. While there are many moving parts in game development, and blame can't be put on one single person alone, we can at least look to the root cause of certain problems that have become a trend with Bethesda's game design. For example, during a speech he did, Emile Pagliarillo had explained that there's little to no internal documentation during development of their games. This is an important aspect to development, because it's part of what keeps everyone on track, and keeps them from contradicting one another when they make decisions.
Yeah.
It is very likely that this lack of documentation
even I
is
use
the reason
design
why
documents and I'm a one-man
flip-flops
team.
on issues, like whether ghouls need food and water in Fallout, or why they make basic mistakes like turning Jet into a pre-war drug. There's many inconsistencies across their games when it comes to story and world building, and at least some of these problems would be solved by using design documents. There's a reason it's standard practice for game development. However, today I'm here to talk about
It's just good to have a
problem,
plan.
and that's the writing style of Emile Pagliarillo. Emile is a fantastic example of someone who is promoted far beyond his skill or talent, as he's a hack writer, incapable of dealing with even the most basic and simple of plot lines, let alone fantasy epics, deep RPGs with complex worlds, or whatever the fuck Starfield was trying to be. After having endured multiple examples of his writing, I found that a pattern has emerged that nicely highlights why he's incompetent as a writer. Now, plot holes and characters being stupid in ML stories is pretty much a given, but the main through line I've noticed is that almost every story he's done that I'm aware of is that they seem to rely heavily on twists, or just shocking moments in general, as though a twist or a shocking moment on its own equates to good writing. Now, I won't be breaking down the entire stories here, as that would take a lot of time. Breaking down the main story of Fallout 4 took me approximately 5 hours. However, I will talk about these individual moments in ML stories to highlight why he's such a terrible writer. Starting off with Oblivion's Dark Brotherhood, this faction is a fan favorite in this game, often being cited as the best questline in the entire base game. For the first half of this questline, I'll agree. Each of the quests in the first half of the game don't contribute to any overall story.
Oh, here we go.
They're largely kill quests with a twist for the most part, thanks to the bonus system. Essentially, the person who contracted the Brotherhood wants a target killed with certain specifications, such as making one look like an accident, or replacing someone's medicine with poison without being detected.
This is
It's
one of
a
the...
flavor that makes these quests more unique and memorable.
To be a React streamer here, this is one of the reasons why I think he is good for writing side quests, because they don't need to be deep or thoughtful or anything, and he's not a thoughtful guy. So it's a perfect fit. You can like or hate what you call it. You can like or hate the Dark Brotherhood quests, but I do feel like side quests are probably where he'd be good for. Just something throwaway that no one needs to really think about too much.
Memorable, as opposed to just being told to kill the target in return for your reward. These are mostly fine, aside from building up one character to be major opposition to the Brotherhood and doing nothing with him. Then you get the quest to purge the Shadenhall Sanctuary from Lucien LeChance, and this is the very moment everything goes downhill fast. This is the first big moment in the quest line that is built purely for shock value. There's a traitor within the Sanctuary from before you join the Brotherhood, and the only way to get rid of him is a total purge of the Sanctuary. Everyone you've dealt with and have been encouraged to interact with in the Assassin's Guild, except Lucien LeChance himself, must be killed. So already, that's pretty shocking. But then we get to Khajiit and Raj Dar. He hates your guts for some reason, from the very start.
If it isn't the newest member of the family, let's get one thing straight. The tenants prevent me from killing you, but I don't have to like you. I'll sell you equipment, but only because Ochiva is making me. This family doesn't need any outsiders. Foul-smelling ape.
And he only changes his tune after you get the Purification quest. Literally, you can talk to him before speaking to LeChance, then return and talk to him, and he'll suddenly be sorry for treating you so poorly, and will be your best friend.
You again? I thought I made it clear I'm not looking for a friend. If you're here to buy or sell something, get on with it already. Foul-smelling ape. Ah, there you are. Look, I've been thinking, and, well, I guess I just want to say I'm sorry for the way I've treated you in the past. I mean, look at you. The things you've accomplished. You've obviously proven yourself a valuable member of this sanctuary. So let's start over, shall we? I know from now on, you and I are going to be great friends. Now, is there something you'd like to buy or sell? Have a look around. You won't find... Come back and see me again.
Worse yet, if you ask him about your current contract, which you can't speak about and requires you to kill everyone in the Sanctuary, he'll say this.
No way I could pick this. Ooh, a secret assignment, you say? Come on, can't you give your old pal Mirage Dar a hint? Who do you have to kill? Anyone I know?
It comes off as cartoonish and stupid. It's clearly designed in a way to make you feel bad, to the point it almost comes across as manipulative. This guy who hated you has finally come around and likes you now, tragically at the exact moment when you have to kill him. The problem isn't that this was attempted, but how sudden and forced it is. He not only flips on a dime, but he goes so overboard into liking you and being your friend that it comes across as a parody. It would have made more sense and worked way better if you had won his trust over time, where he starts off hating you, but the more you interact with him between quests, the more he comes around to liking you, and you get to see his change in real time, and having to kill him would have more impact and be more tragic, because you won him over only to be forced to kill him. Next up is the shocking twist revealed at the end of the Dead Drops portion of the quest line, where you're told that you've been killing top-ranking members of the Dark Brotherhood. Someone had switched your orders at the third drop, and was using you to destroy the faction. This is where there's a whole flurry of problems, so bear with me now. First is the obvious problem of you, the player, not being able to do anything about this. Someone going through and not paying attention will easily miss this, because actually reading the notes isn't required, as your quest journal will update as soon as you pick them up, and will direct you to your next target. However, the developers went out of their way to make a clear difference here, both
This
in
is
terms
that
of the
bit I was
note
talking
itself and
about.
inventory screens, as well as the actual contents of the notes themselves. Lucien's notes are more methodical and strictly business. Whereas the Trader's Notes have a very obvious difference in writing style, and further, the Trader's Notes ramble and get off track by telling you unnecessary details. Lucian's 2 dead drops both give strictly important information, namely, that your first target is a powerful necromancer in the process of turning himself into a lich, and thus will be a strong opponent, and your second target is an entire family, and most of their whereabouts is unknown, so you have to get the information from their mother, who is also one of the targets. The Trader's dead drops immediately devolve into fanfiction about his targets and over-explaining unnecessary information that you do not need as an assassin. Namely, the reason why each target is to be killed. For example, the 6th dead drop sends you to kill Havelstein Whoreblood, and the Trader's Note explains that he killed the chieftain of a mead hall and stole...
Within the walls of this time capsule, you, our descendants, will find the items and mementos we treasured in the year 2077. To you, 200 years in the future, these relics may seem quaint, but we hope that they will remind you of our place in history and your own. As we laid the foundation for the world in which you live, so you too will lay a foundation for future generations. May that future be bright. On behalf of all of us in 2077, we wish you well. This is Mayor Alyssa Park, speaking for the town of Jamaica Plains.
And that the chieftain's sister had foregone the Nord custom of extracting monetary retribution, and instead wants Havelstein dead. It is absurd and contrived that you can't do anything about the orders being switched if you notice this. You just have to mindlessly carry on like a good little sheep, so the questline can play out the way ML wanted it to. Next is the issue of the orders being replaced in the first place. Needless to say, LeChance is an extremely stealthy character and has the use of invisibility magic on his side. There's no way in hell anyone should be able to track him down that easily. Following that is the issue of Lucian LeChance being so fucking brain dead that he didn't for a second consider that the traitor who came from the Shadenhall Sanctuary might have also left that sanctuary. There's no telling how many members the Dark Brotherhood has, nor how many come and go through each sanctuary. Narrowing who the traitor is down to a single sanctuary and wiping out said sanctuary is clearly not a catch-all solution, as demonstrated by the game itself, for the fact that the traitor is long gone from the sanctuary before you even join, let alone before the cleansing. Remember too, that this is the sanctuary that Lucian himself oversees. He should know who has come and gone, and they should be under suspicion too. That's not all, however. The next issue is with the next dead drop, which itself raises a number of issues. Why is this the first dead drop that you happen to arrive at before the drop is made? Why didn't the traitor have this drop off
really.
sooner? He has this whole elaborate plan to wipe out the Dark Brotherhood, but didn't have this shit set up in advance? Sure, you're not going to make all the drops immediately, in case they get found by people, or in case your man fails and dies, but there would be ample time between making the previous drop and making this one. Also, why would he be so foolish as to have the drop be in the town he lives in? In the off chance that the guy doing the drop for him gets caught, it would lead them back to his hideout. If this drop was in Bruma instead, for example, and the traitor still lived in Anvil, then you would be left at a dead end if you caught the guy doing the drop. It was some guy in a cloak. He made me do it. Yeah, that's some real useful information when every single possible person who could be behind this would be wearing a cloak. This is clearly forced stupidity on the part of the traitor to allow you to find him, rather than doing any kind of intelligent investigation to actually discover who he is. Finally, you find the evidence of who the killer is, and it's all useless because, shock horror, Lucian has been killed by the rest of the Brotherhood. I'm not even finished with this set of issues, and a new set arises. So the rest of the Brotherhood just slaughter Lucian because they assume he's the traitor without the slightest amount of common sense or critical thinking. Yes, they assume he's a traitor because of the dead drops where you killed members of the Brotherhood, but they don't consider the alternative, that the traitor may still be among them. Which is fucking dumb when the traitor has done this much damage to your organization. It would not have hurt them at fucking all to lock Lucian in a prison cell and figure this shit out properly. Seek out any evidence to condemn or exonerate him. Nope, just kill him without a second thought and assume the problem is over. They also just presume you're entirely innocent for no particular reason whatsoever, because you were following orders. Apparently they didn't consider that if Lucien was the traitor, that you might have been someone he recruited specifically to help him with this, and be in cahoots. Nope, you just get a complete free pass, because reasons. The next issue is the fact that you can't turn over any evidence to prove the fact that not only was Lucien innocent, but that the traitor is still alive. This is made exponentially worse when you drop the head, and he reacts to it, and you still can't expose him as being the traitor.
What? What is that? Is that a head? No, it can't be. Sorry, Speaker. I'm distracted.
You know he's the traitor. He reacts. They recorded specific, unique dialogue for this, and you still cannot do a goddamn thing about it. It's infuriating. The final issue is the fact that the Night Mother apparently foresaw all of this happening, calling it destiny, but she also said she didn't do anything to stop the traitor, because the listener was weak for not realizing he was a traitor sooner, and as such he deserved to die. But if she can see that far into the future, then why in the world would she pick a listener that would fuck up like that in the first place? You see how his writing quickly falls apart when you start asking basic questions, or using basic logic? From even this one quest line alone, a pattern already starts to emerge with the contrivances, the inability to do things with the knowledge you have, cheap, shallow payoffs that aren't built up properly, and most importantly, those shocking moments and twists. ML Pagliarillo, the writer responsible for this absolutely contrived horseshit, then went on to become the lead writer at Bethesda. Now, I'm not going to say that he alone is to blame for every writing problem with Bethesda going forward. Writing for games is oftentimes a collaborative process. That said, being the lead writer, he is still the one responsible for the main stories of Fallout 3, Skyrim, Fallout 4, and now Starfield. And all these games similarly suffer from the same issues. There are a lot of problems with Fallout 3's main story. I'll just focus on a couple shocking moments that are tied together by an incredible contrivance. At Project Purity, the Enclave invade and take over, and dear old Dad sacrifices his life to prevent it from falling into their hands, killing everyone in the room, including their leader, Colonel Autumn. In the very next quest of any substance, he arrives at the end to kidnap you from Vault 87. This is treated as though it's a shocking moment that he's alive, considering everyone died. Except he didn't. As it turns out, Colonel Autumn injects himself with a mysterious something and collapses. This thing he injects himself with apparently gives him perfect radiation immunity, as it saves his life as everyone around him is dying, and he's fit as a goddamn fiddle here in Vault 87. Already, this is pretty bad. But this is made worse by the fact that he has no such item in his inventory at the end of the game, when it would be useful for him to have it, but he can't have it, because if the player kills him, that would ruin the whole idea of sacrificing yourself. There's also no information whatsoever on what this item even is. Even the fan wiki dedicated to documenting every little thing in this game has to speculate. But what if it's experimental? No, shut the fuck up. When you try to explain crap like this away based on nothing that's actually in the game, you're just doing the writing for the writers to excuse their lazy bullshit. This is pretty much the peak of contrived writing. They invented a thing that doesn't even have a name and is never mentioned, and the only reason we know it exists at all is because they made a unique animation to explain how this guy survives a situation he shouldn't. Then the game faces you off against him, and you're put into the exact same situation that cannot be survived, and he just doesn't have another one for no reason. And I mean it when I say there's no information on what this is. This single animation is literally all we have. Also no, it's not Rad-X or Radaway, as one is an IV bag and the other are pills, and obviously neither of which are in a syringe, neither of which worked for you prior to Broken Steel retconning your death. Speaking about bad writing, though, with Fallout 3, The big thing this game is criticized for is the fact that you're forced to sacrifice yourself at this moment when you have companions who are immune to radiation and they just refuse to do so, with Fox famously telling you that it is your destiny to die here.
It's your dentistry.
I'm sorry, my companion, but no. We all have our own destinies. Yours culminates here. I would not rob you of that.
Okay, so that's 2 for 2. You could argue that one was a fluke and one was bad luck. How about Skyrim then? The game starts off with you being carted to your execution, only for a dragon to attack and barely save your life. This dragon is Alduin.
No, come on, you gotta...
We later find out...
You gotta at least give it... It's just a coincidence, you know? Just a convenient little thing to get the story started. You know, you can't hate on Skyrim's beginning. It's fun. Now the rest of the game, yeah, go ahead.
In the main story that humans in the past used an Elder Scroll to send them far into the future, which happens to be today. The implication being that when we see him here, he just arrived from the distant past. He immediately flies to Helgen and destroys it. Now we find out he gains power by consuming souls, so the Civil War is good for him, but he couldn't have possibly known that the Civil War was even happening, as he had just arrived, let alone knowing that it's about to end in mere minutes due to Ulfric being executed, so he couldn't have come here to save him. That's super coincidental for him. There's also a fan theory that Alduin sensed the Dragonborn there and came to destroy him. But first of all, if that was true, then why didn't he sense that you were still alive? Secondly, it's a fan theory, and those are worth exactly jack and shit when it comes to analyzing the writing that's in the game. Fan theories like this that exist to fill in the holes left by the writers are nothing more than doing the writing for the writers. There's also other issues, such as not seeing getting the Horn of Jorgen Windcaller, which is impossible given that you need Dragonborn powers to get to it, and she has no such powers.
Yeah, it is cartoonish.
Not at all terrible and lazy line of, I have my ways. Literally just shit happening.
I do not like Delphine in Skyrim.
Skyrim doesn't really have any other significant twists or shocking moments, but it does have other examples of bad writing that I'll cover in the future. Once is happenstance or bad luck, twice is coincidence, and 3 times is a pattern. But let's keep going and see what happens. Fallout 4 is absolutely rife with issues. So much so that I made an analysis of the base game that is about 14 hours long across 4 videos. There's so many things I could reference, such as the insane inconsistencies and contradictions of the synths, and the fact that there's no solid in-universe reason for why the Institute builds them, but I'll keep it relatively restrained. As is standard by this point, there's some big twists and reveals, and they're terrible. The leader of the Institute, Father, turns out to be your kidnapped Babby, which is the most obvious twist you could pull here, especially considering you're blatantly refrozen at the start of the game. This is clearly made to be something significant, but it's nothing more than a wet fart. Of the many issues this raises, Kellogg still being alive and not having aged a day, despite the fact that 60 years has passed since the kidnapping, is one of them. The game explains this away as him having cybernetics that stop the aging process, which is fine, until you realize no one else in the Institute has these miraculous cybernetic upgrades. As it turns out, Sean himself terminated the project because it was a bizarre amalgamation of biology and technology. Need I remind you that
wait, the difficulty just reset.
Are an amalgamation of biology and technology. Beyond that, due to Kellogg's lack of aging,
so 25 is the
kidnapping, meaning the
highest
project had been
wave
going and was successful for a significant amount of time. Further still, if Sean terminated the project when he became leader of the Institute, that adds on an additional 2 decades at the very least, if we assume he became the leader of the Institute at the age of 20, which he almost certainly did not. So again, why did no one else get these clearly functional and insanely useful cybernetic upgrades when the project had been running for no less than 2 decades at the very minimum. Oh. Further, upon meeting Sean, he convinces you that he's your son based on the fact that you had no concept of the passage of time while frozen in the vault. Thus, it was not only possible, but it is an actual fact that Sean had aged to become this old man while you were on ice.
In the vault, you had no concept of the passage of time. You were released from your pod, and when searching for the sun, you'd lost.
He also wanted to meet you. So why does the entire first half of the game exist?
Perhaps most curious to me, would you, after all this time, attempt to find me? Now I know the answer.
Oh, a contradictory throwaway line to excuse this insane stupidity. He wants to meet you, but he doesn't take you to the Institute directly to see if you'd come after him after all this time. By the way, I'm totally your son because you had no concept of the passage of time.
In the vault, you had no concept of the passage of time. You were released from your pod, and when searching for the sun, you'd lost. Perhaps most curious to me, would you, after all this time, attempt to find me? And now I know the answer.
This is just blatant contradictions for the convenience of the writers. These are mutually exclusive positions. There's many various other examples of bad writing throughout the main story, such as Kellogg having left Diamond City weeks ago, and yet he's still supposed to be bait. The fact that Sean's entire plan to meet you is contrived as all hell, because if a single element were out of place, such as not having dog meat, not having Nick, not exploring Kellogg's memories, and Virgil the biologist being competent with making technical blueprints for a teleporter based entirely off of things he's seen and heard, among other big issues, all of which are out of his control, then his plan would immediately fail, as you'd be left at a dead end. But you get my point. Alrighty. If 3 is a pattern, I feel like 4 is evidence of incompetence. I shouldn't even really need to go on, but I will, because it is fun taking an axe to the absolute dumpster fire that is Starfield. First and foremost, about half of this game's story is Radiant quests, which have no substance besides go here and collect thing. Sometimes the thing is in a dungeon full of enemies. That's right, with this one they couldn't even be fucking bothered to write a fully fleshed out main story for their game. But besides that, we've yet again got shocking moments and awful twists. In the main story, one of the 2 Constellation companions that like you most will be killed by an edgy OC. The Starborn you've met previously will suddenly reveal themselves to be an alternate timeline version of the character that died. Problem is that the emissary has a completely different pattern of speech than any of the companions prior to this point. This is done to hide the twist, and because the game hasn't figured out which companion it will be yet, which makes this twist a bit nonsense. Additionally, when the hunter attacks Constellation Space Station, you hear over the radio that your companion is injured and bleeding out pretty badly. If you go there immediately, though, they're a bit roughed up, but otherwise fine. As in, not bleeding at all. If you don't go there immediately, they're dead and in a pool of their own blood on the floor. Another issue with the hunter's attack, if you stay at the lodge to defend it, Walter can be seen upstairs with a gun out, ready to defend the place. But once the game reaches the right trigger stage, he runs to a specific spot in the room away from sight on the ground floor, so he can be captured by the hunter. Do I even need to explain why this is utter dog shit? Finally, you collect all the space garbage and reach the Unity, the thing that allows you to ascend to become Starborn, and the Unity appears to you as yourself. The main story raises a whole bunch of questions, and hardly any of them get answered. For example, reaching the Unity allows Starborn to travel onwards to the next alternate universe. However, how do they travel onwards to the next universe if they happen to lose and not get all the artifacts? I haven't found an explanation. I guess they just do somehow. A power unavailable to you. You need to collect the artifacts to move on every time. Additionally, you can ask who created the artifacts in the magic temples, and the game literally just gives you the most pretentious condescending answer in the form of, "You answered it yourself." The creators created them. Yeah, thanks, dickhead. Once again, ML's writing is filled with shallow moments that are meant to be shocking, but looking below the surface shows just how shit they are. Keep in mind too, these are just quick looks to keep this video relatively short. These are not all the issues his writing contains, not by a long shot. ML scoffs at the idea that he's an incompetent writer, but over a decade and a half of awful writing seems to say otherwise. This man can't write for shit, and should not be in charge of writing jokes on bubblegum wrappers, let alone what are supposed to be epic fantasy, sci-fi, and post-apocalyptic stories for RPGs.
I will again say I feel like he should be just demoted to quest writer.
Well,
I don't think he should just be straight up fired.
Not interested in discussing how realistic things are in an alternate universe post-apocalypse game with talking mutants and ghouls. Oh, well how about that? There's also the whole line about not being beholden to something someone wrote 20 years ago. If that doesn't say they don't care, then I don't know what does. Is ML to blame? At least some of it is due to him. Just how much is impossible to say. But thanks to Bethesda, massive retcons have been made to the series, including FEV not being unique to Mariposa, and the result is them using super mutants with none of the depth or nuance they once had. They're now just eternally angry orcs that want to kill everything. Aside from the extremely rare friendly one, Jet is now a pre-war drug, ghouls no longer need food or water, destroying one of the bad endings from the original Fallout. Fallout 3 turned the Brotherhood into a bunch of Power Rangers who want to save everyone. Nuka-Cola is apparently the end-all be-all of pre-war culture, and was just an item in the original games. And now we're getting news of the Fallout show, which is said to be canon with the games, that describes the Brotherhood as patriotic law and order types, as opposed to the technophile cultists they're supposed to be, with no mention whatsoever of the NCR, despite the show taking place in their territory. They turn the Enclave into incompetent idiots. They keep pushing both aliens and Lovecraftian bullshit in a world where those things should not exist because we've got enough going on with the whole post-apocalypse overrun with deadly mutants and killer robots and gangs of raiders, and who knows how many factions fighting for control of the world. Worse yet, during the speech ML did that people criticize, he says they were at one point considering putting actual magic into the game, and only didn't because the magic system from Skyrim had already been stripped from the engine. And he further talks about how they almost had a Klingon promotion moment with the Brotherhood, where you could kill Elder Maxson and become the leader of the faction, and they shockingly enough barely had enough self-awareness to not do this.
We had this idea on paper, sounded great, that you will, if Elder Maxson, the head of the Brotherhood of Steel, doesn't like Paladin Dance and wants to kill him, you can kill Elder Maxson and you can become the head of the Brotherhood of Steel. And it sounds great, right? Like on paper, of course. You know, I kill the head of the organization, I become the head of the organization. So we did that. That was the story we decided to tell.
That would work if you're like a raider faction.
We actually recorded some audio, and we were going down this path, and then we started playing this in the studio. And so what happens is, you kill Elder Maxson, you become the head of this faction, and it felt wrong. And it felt wrong because everyone else in the faction, all the other members of the Brotherhood of Steel, felt the same way that Elder Maxson did. They didn't like this guy, they didn't like his secret. And it felt very wrong that you could take over the organization and everybody just accepted magically that it was okay that he had the secret. So we changed it. Because Salem, when I think witches, I actually lived in Salem for a while, we thought, well, maybe we'll actually have characters that can act like witches, but they're using radiation to sort of like, you know, use powers that look like witchcraft. Kind of like the X-Men or something, right? And we'll do that. We'll leverage Skyrim's magic system, right? Because we still have it in the code. And we had it in the code. It got ripped out at some point, okay? So we didn't have that anymore. And so we weren't going to recreate that entirely just for one quest. It wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, he says it's radiation. That's just bullshittery to excuse actual magic existing. Also, just think about Fallout as a series for a moment. Something like witches existing and using radiation for magic is so far out of place to exist within this world. The only reason some people might say that it fits is because Bethesda has already done massive damage to the franchise by turning everything into a goddamn joke. Fallout's lore is in fucking shambles at this point, and it's only going to get worse with each release, especially with ML at the helm. 2 games in, and Bethesda has done so much damage to the world of Fallout that massive retcons are needed to repair it, and much of this is thanks to ML Pagliarillo's incompetent, awful writing.
Because the true mark of being a real developer is, as every developer knows, is waiting to come in, right?
I don't know if he says it in this video, but Tim Kaine, the guy that made Fallout to begin with, he states plainly that the point of Fallout isn't to loot and shoot. It wasn't about building a better plasma gun. It was about rebuilding society after nuclear fallout. And what society would be like following the end of the world, basically. How it would rebuild or suit itself, and how the players interact with that world in order to, come to their own conclusions about things. It's like, is it right to do this or that? It's supposed to make you think. Bethesda stuff doesn't make you think. It's just head empty. He who, oh boy, legendary guns, a pistol, but this one does 10 points of plasma damage.
And then reading the reviews, of course, and hopefully, if you get lucky, ignoring the reviews, right?
This is the man behind the stories for these games. He also recently commented on people talking shit about a speech he did at some conference after the release of Fallout 4. I did a breakdown of this speech myself in my in-depth analysis of Fallout 4. I've recently released this segment of the analysis as a standalone video. A point that comes up is that they don't do internal documentation when making games. I mentioned it earlier, but having proper game design documentation during development is pretty much industry standard, because it's a way of keeping the whole team in line and consistent with what's being made. Without it, you end up with the many absurd and insane issues we see in games like Fallout 4, where ghouls don't need food and water to survive. Oh wait they do, oh wait they don't. There is no good reason for any of these games to be as bad as they are, and anyone who excuses the problems these games have, like they're nothing, or like they're insignificant, are doing nothing but feckless fucking apologism for utter garbage. And the seemingly endless praise and worship of Bethesda and their shit fucking games have received is part of the problem. Fans need to be more critical of the media we receive if we want to keep receiving at least half-decent products. When you give a pass to anything and slap badass seals of approval on utter trash because you're so mindlessly on the hype train, it tells Bethesda that they're perfect and flawless, and leads them to making more and more tasteless fucking slop. ML has gotten away with butchering Fallout and Elder Scrolls because their games are largely well received despite being massively flawed, and their entire company is pretty much carried by the modding community who fixes their shit-ass games, and by players who just want to play a game for the sake of killing some baddies, with little to no critical thought about the quality of the content. And for years, if you had the audacity to say anything bad about these games, the amount of pushback and vitriol you got was insane. Yes, it's the internet and people will be shitheads about anything and everything, but many Bethesda fans go fucking rabid when you criticize their games. Thankfully, the tide does seem to be turning here, and Bethesda isn't the perfect innocent darling that people once saw them as. Other studios have been absolutely torn apart for broken games and game-breaking bugs and sleazy business practices that Bethesda has long been given a pass for, and it seems like the goodwill people had towards them is finally coming to an end. A Bethesda game isn't a guaranteed hit anymore either, which is a good thing. A hit game should be something that succeeds on its own merits, not a mindless hype and lifetime customers who will buy anything you release without question, and the goodwill that has somehow been built up over years and years. The reception of Starfield must be a shock to Bethesda, because they've been making some strange choices that don't look good on them. First of all, they've taken to responding to many negative reviews on Steam, essentially telling people they're wrong for not having fun. Real-world astronauts weren't bored when they went to the moon. Real-world astronauts weren't playing a game for the purpose of entertainment. They were doing real scientific discovery. It's the same kind of behavior that you would expect from an amateur indie developer who made a bad game and got rightfully criticized for it and got upset by that criticism. The response and criticism to this game has even prompted ML Pagliarillo himself to respond on Twitter in a way that seems passive-aggressive and petty. First up is this one. Oh, the Reddit thread? Lol. Yeah, every so often someone likes to dig up a talk I did years ago and misrepresent what I said. Apparently I also don't care about Fallout lore, can't write to save my life, and have the IQ of a peanut. It's on the internet, so it must be true. I think I've done a pretty good job explaining why he can't write for shit, and I feel like I've shown decent evidence for why he doesn't care about Fallout lore, considering he wanted to add literal magic to the series, and putting on promotion with the Brotherhood. What's worth pointing out here is his dismissive attitude with the whole, it's on the internet, so it must be true bit. This very much seems like someone who cannot take criticism and has to resort to these petty little comments to dismiss them. He says all this as if it's patently ridiculous that anyone would think he's bad at writing, when there's ample evidence as to his ability, or lack thereof, and that because such criticism is given on the internet, it's somehow untrustworthy. Long thread. Funny how disconnected some players are from the realities of game development, and yet they speak with complete authority. I mean, I can guess what it takes to make a hostess Twinkie, but I don't work in the factory, so what the hell do I really know? Not a lot. The realities of development don't really apply to most criticism. Worst of all, he uses the tired old argument that unintelligent people often resort to when criticized for their shortcomings. Essentially, because you haven't made XYZ, then you can't criticize XYZ, which is often styled as, well, let's see you do better. I've always despised this non-argument anytime it comes up.
I am a game designer. I've worked in
disingenuousness,
professionally as a game designer,
intelligence to use this argument.
And I can tell you,
what it boils down
he's
to
just a lazy moron.
So just give me a free pass. Because making games is a very difficult and lengthy process, you small-minded critics can't possibly know what the process is or why some things end up the way they do. The simple reality is the tried and true response to such non-arguments. You don't need to be a chef to tell that the steak is burnt to a goddamn crisp. Ultimately, it doesn't matter to the customer what pains and struggles you went through, nor the amount of effort you put into making something, if the thing you made is still shit. Such pains, struggles, and efforts are commendable, and even praiseworthy when something great comes from it. But if the result is a shit product, then as a customer, I feel like I've wasted my money on garbage, and I don't care what the developers went through. The only time this argument holds any water at all is to explain away certain design decisions, because there are genuine time and budget constraints in real life. Sometimes certain ideas or plans just get cut or reduced. In ML's speech, he talks about how they had an idea for 2 towns, and had to scale it back to 1 town, and had to further scale it back to just a single building, the Museum of Witchcraft. Issues like that are understandable. We're not talking about issues like that, though. The core issue is that much of the content in these Bethesda games are shallow and empty. Good example is said Museum of Witchcraft, because while it's understandable that they had to reduce it from 2 towns to 1 to a single building, what's far less excusable is the fact they put an exceptionally shallow and ridiculous quest here. It's treated like a horror movie, with terrifying creature sounds. And it's just a Deathclaw. Then you can return the stolen egg to the Deathclaw nest, and you get a Disney moment as the mother Deathclaw will be non-hostile towards you, and will give you a reward. Part of me really gets it. When you're a consumer, and spend money on things, that gives you a right to complain about those things. I spend a lot of money on games every year, and sometimes it takes a lot for me not to scream into the internet's collective consciousness. This is a tactic to try and lower your defenses. I get it, fellow gamer. We all deal with frustrations when we spend our hard-earned money on something we may not end up liking. It's an attempt to endear himself to the critics, so they might back off when he gets around to explaining why their criticism isn't valid or justified. Because he's totally just like us. I don't complain about games on social for two main reasons. One, I know how hard it is to make games, and have too much respect for my fellow devs. Two, I work for a game studio, and it would be uncool and unprofessional for me to do so.
And three, you're a fucking coward.
Oh boy. The first half of this comes across as patronizing. It's as though other developers can't take criticism, much in the way he can't. Further, it implies that hard work means something should be criticism-proof. And far, far worse, that criticism isn't something you can do to someone or something you respect. This isn't treating criticism for its intended purpose, to show the shortcomings or flaws in something, so that someone may improve and do better next time. It's treating criticism as though it's a hostile
I believe
act,
somewhere
as
in
though
this
it's
upper
inherently
level
an
is
attack
where
on the creator and their
the
work.
melee bubble
That
is.
criticism of something means you do not
Just don't
respect their
remember where.
work or the creators of said work. This kind of mentality is poison to creativity and self-improvement because it promotes the idea that criticism in and of itself is bad, made worse by his admission of ignoring the criticism. The second half just kind of seems like industry standard stuff, where you don't talk shit about other creators and their works, so you don't...
Yeah, the way I see it, he'll cower out of bad-mouthing other games. Yes, for professionalism, but also because he doesn't want to deal out what he can't take. And he can't take criticism. So, he's not going to give it. Because he would have it turned on him instantly. Because he is bad. Like, he's not good at what he does. How he's got to his position. If I have to venture a guess how it happened, he basically failed his way upward. So step one was the Brotherhood, Dark Brotherhood side quest was received very positively. People liked the little twist. It wasn't just go kill X and Y. It was, you can kill X and Y, but if you do this funky thing and get them killed by, like, dropping a thing on them, well, you're going to get some extra gold in your pocket. And people, of course, want that extra loot. And so they do it, and they have more fun than just simply run in, slaughter everyone. And so, because that was received positively, like as the most generally liked side quest in Oblivion, he got handed the keys to Fallout 3. And he did try to be at least somewhat faithful in Fallout 3. Not the hardest. Again, he's not a good writer. He clearly shows that he's not exactly, he's not up to the task. But Fallout 3 was received itself pretty widely, nicely. Because Fallout games generally didn't come to consoles. I think Brotherhood of Steel was like the only one that came beforehand, and that was certainly something. But, so it being the first Fallout game, the aesthetic was appealing to people, and they did a good job with the world's looks and everything. Because everything's like run down, and you feel kind of alone in this barren world. And it was a good introduction to people. So the game got liked for that, but people generally don't think positively of the story. It's like, it's whatever. And so because the game itself as a whole was accepted, he continued to be on the, okay, this guy's on a winner list. And he just continued to fail upward. Skyrim comes out. And Skyrim, of course, does gangbusters. It was hyped to heck. It was the sequel to a beloved game, Oblivion. And came out in a very good spot in the generation's lifespan, the PS3, 360. It looked and played pretty good. And it was generally just fun to play. Yeah, but like people, they don't praise the story. What made the game popular is all the memes about taking an arrow to the knee, going Fusro Da and watching people ragdoll, fighting dragons. That's what people liked. It wasn't the story. People didn't really care about the story. It's like, whatever. So again, he fails upward. Then comes Fallout New Vegas. Technically, New Vegas came out before Skyrim, but still. New Vegas comes out, and people get a taste of what Fallout is really supposed to be. Where your choices have consequences. You can see what influence you had on the world. Yeah, there's looting and shooting, but that's only like a little part of the greater whole. And you are encouraged to play through the game multiple times in multiple ways because there are so many ways to go about doing everything. And so people are like, oh, I don't like the ending where Boone gets himself killed being on a murderous rampage. I'll try to encourage him to do something else instead. Or this or that or other thing. There's a lot going on. So when Fallout 4 comes out, they're expecting more of New Vegas. But New Vegas really showed to the world what can be done with games made in this engine. But then we got something so hollow. It's like, not to mention it was like bugged AF. Where you had people that could jump on top of a gas can and then fly around the Commonwealth on it. Just zooming. You could do all sorts of absolutely stupid shit that they patched out some of it, but as you've been seeing me playing, the game is still bugged AF, and it just continues to break with every passing patch. Even more so, it seems. Where, like, if you've bought the Anniversary Edition for some reason, the game may not even recognize that you have DLC at all. But like, people liked the guns more in this game more than they did in like Fallout 3 New Vegas, because in New Vegas they're fairly rudimentary. There isn't anything real crazy going on for the most part. There are some interesting weapons, but it's just sort of it's kind of basic in a sort of way comparatively. But personally, myself, I'm just going to digress here, but I prefer the gunplay in New Vegas more. Mostly because there's more variety in this. It's just, why bother using anything but the strongest, because the other guns don't really do anything more interesting. It's still just, you shoot bullet. The only real reason to change different weapons is just if you run out of ammo for one. Anyway, yeah, so them expecting a big deep story instead got utter garbage. And then fast forward to Starfield, people got even more garbage, but this time the game couldn't carry it because, one, the game is just procedurally generated, not actually handcrafted, so there's not anything to actually explore. Two, there are loading screens between each thing, and if you think they're bad in Fallout 4, you haven't played Starfield. They're even worse. Like, far, far worse. And three, you know how I'm frustrated with getting anything done in this game because, I want to upgrade my pistol? Well, I not only need to have this, but I also need to have this. But, like, by the time you're level 42, you're basically already endgame level. Like, why? You can't specialize. And similarly, that's the same in Starfield. And even more so with the settlement building in Starfield, because they brought it back, but this time people did not use it. Because unlike Fallout 4, which starts you out in Sanctuary Hills, where you can get like most of the crafting benches right there for you. Right out the rip. You don't get that in Starfield. You're going to have to get your skills up. Like, I believe it was, you had to get like tier 2 of the piloting perk in Starfield to be able to like customize your ship or something. I don't know because I haven't played it, of course, because I don't have it, and I don't plan on buying the game for very much money. So I'm waiting until it's like 80% off. But the problems just compound, and this time Emil doesn't have a good game to carry his sorry ass.
Get blacklisted. It's bad that this kind of culture exists, but there's not much to be done about it here and now. Most people don't have these constraints, and are free to post whatever they want. The internet is a glorious wild, wild west, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And there was a time when I exercised that right very freely. When I was writing game reviews for the Adrenaline Vault forever ago, I was absolutely that person who would say whatever I wanted about a game, good or bad. Sometimes the good was over-enthusiastically too good, and sometimes the bad was me being a sarcastic asshat. But throughout that time, I actually had no inkling of what game development was actually like. How hard the designers, programmers, artists, producers, and everyone else worked. The struggle to bring a vision to life, with constantly shifting resources. The stress. Now we're getting into the big excuse, that working on things is hard and stuff. Again, no one cares how difficult the process is if the end result is crap. The only real thing to say about it is that all that effort went to waste on garbage. It takes a lot of effort and hard work to dig a mile-long trench that's 6 feet deep and 3 feet wide with a teaspoon. but that effort doesn't inherently matter because someone might have done it. This comes across as entitlement, as though because he and his team worked hard, you shouldn't have said those mean things about his $70 game, even if what you said was true and accurate, especially in relation to the quality of the game. You are not inherently entitled to success or praise simply because you worked hard on something. This isn't me complaining about my job. I've experienced all these things, and will again. It's the nature of AAA game development. But I also have a great position, and I'm still gainfully employed after 21 plus years. A blessing considering the thousands of layoffs this year. I'm not trying to change anyone's mind, because of the internet, but given my position, I can't not share the truth. And that truth is, nobody sets out to make a bad game. And most game devs are incredibly talented, even if the game they release isn't up to par. See, I never knew this before, but if nothing else, video game development is a series of concessions and tough decisions. There's that perfect game you want to make, and then there's the game you can make. Sometimes, if the gods smile on you, those two are very close. Then explain why your games always turn out to be utter crap in the story, character, and world-building department, and many other games don't. He is right in that no one sets out to make a bad game, but that also doesn't negate any criticism. A bad game is a bad game. If only someone could listen to the criticism and learn from it instead of ignoring it or making excuses like he is here. Is Baldur's Gate 3 simply the result of luck? Or did their team genuinely work hard to make the best game they could? Part of doing a job is doing it right. And while mistakes can be made along the way, as hardly anything goes perfectly to plan, there's steps that can be taken to ensure that you do truly make the best game you can, even if you do have to make concessions or change or even cut things you do not want to. The difference is in making it work, and considering this is a long-standing problem at Bethesda, there is very clearly something wrong with the process, and it seems like no one there gives a shit because it keeps getting worse with each release. Bethesda builds these vast worlds, where they try to wow you with sheer surface space and amount of generic dungeons, while putting little to no effort into the actual substance of these games. Todd Howard gets up on stage at E3 to talk about how they modeled every button on every terminal and console in Fallout 4 to show how much work they put into the game, when all that work doesn't actually make the game better, and the story content is utter dog shit. Fallout 3 has dozens upon dozens of dungeons, and just 17 side quests in the base game. That is the extent of the significant side content in Fallout 3. Each new release increasingly reeks of a culture of laziness and apathy towards the substantive content in these games, where instead of spending a lot of time
laziness, apathy, mismanagement, and not having a damn focus, really. Like I said, these games need to be deflated. They're too bloated.
Rex. Many thanks for that timely rescue.
How long is this? It's another 15 minutes.
I've earned a reward. Ah, yes. Yes, I like it. Now, I'm returning to WRVR.
Reginald's suit. Yeah, sure. Strong is available to be your companion. He's a funny guy.
Stories, characters, and world building, we get shallow contradictory bullshit at nearly every turn. Starfield is a game in which half its main story is proc-gen sludge, with the Radiant Quest, and the other half is a mess of vague concepts that aren't fully explored, that only appear deep on a very surface level, and most of the entire universe you have to explore is also proc-gen sludge, with no greater substance or
Fallout 4, why are you like this?
A vast expanse of nothingness that feels like it was made purely to appear grandiose at a glance, but nothing more. Fallout 4 is a game in which its main story contradicts itself at almost every turn, and at the end tries to guilt-trip you for not siding with the bad guys, who are responsible for untold death and suffering to a degree worse than we've ever seen in this series, aside from the war itself. Fallout 3 is a game that expects you to be upset over the death of your father, who is a character you barely interact with and has no personality. In fact, it is a goddamn feature of their games that characters tend to be extremely shallow, with the vast majority having one personality trait, where most characters just rattle off things they need you to do until you complete all their quests and they become irrelevant. The process is broken and needs to be fixed, and it seems like either no one at Bethesda wanted to fix it, or they weren't even aware of it somehow, or they just don't care. And my money is on that last one, given comments made by Pete Hines, saying he doesn't care about how realistic things are in these games, when the complaint he was responding to was about consistency, which is different from realism, or the comment about how they won't be beholden to something someone wrote 20 years ago. Again, if that doesn't tell me they don't care, I don't know what does. They made successful games despite their quality, so why change anything?
Oh my god.
There is one change they make. They strip out or dumb down the RPG mechanics more and more with each release, to the point these aren't even RPGs anymore. It's infuriating that they still have the audacity to call their games RPGs when they barely have token RPG mechanics at this point. But in order to get there, in order to get it as close as possible to the vision, the team has to push itself harder and harder, often while dealing with devs being shuffled around, or leaving, looming deadlines, and creative decisions you wish you didn't have to make. And team is absolutely the operative word there. Lots and lots of folks doing lots and lots of work, writing, level building, making character models, coding game systems, trying to schedule it all so it can get done and folks don't burn out, and on and on. So sure, you can dislike parts of a game, you can hate on a game entirely, but don't fool yourself into thinking you know why it is the way it is, unless it's somehow documented and verified, or how it got
You don't have documents!
Good or bad. Chances are, unless you've made a game yourself, you don't know who made certain decisions, who did specific work, how many people were actually available to do that work, any time challenges faced, or how often you had to overcome technology itself. This one is huge.
So nice.
This seems like he's trying to get people to leave him alone personally, even though he is the lead writer or project lead on these games. And many of the issues these games have are his responsibility. He is right in that we don't know who did what behind the scenes. There are hundreds of people who work on these games, and it's impossible to attribute most things to one particular person in most cases, which is why I often default to referring to those responsible for the issues as the writers, or even simply Bethesda. The difference here is that ML did go out and explain what his process for writing is, what development is like at Bethesda, as well as his own thoughts, influence, and choices on these projects, so we now know that he's a big part of the problem. Worse yet for him, knowing he's responsible for the Dark Brotherhood and the main stories of these games from Fallout 3 to Starfield, you can examine them, compare and contrast them like I did earlier in this video, to find certain writing techniques being used repeatedly, and knowing it's largely one guy responsible for it all. Here's another common element I didn't mention. Across the Bethesda Fallout games, a missing family member has been used
That's Reginald Suit!
no less than 4 times in major ways. People made jokes about Fallout 4 being the inverse of Fallout 3, where instead of looking for your father, you're looking for your son. But both Point Lookout and Far Harbor both use a missing family member as a key element to get both DLCs started, and is your primary story motivation for even going to these places. I also love how he cites there being a team and how lots of people are doing lots of things. This is presented in such a way as to appear overwhelming, and while he doesn't outright say it, the implication is that with such a big team doing so many different things, the things get lost in the shuffle, leading to some of the problems that get complained about. This, coupled with the snide comment about not fooling yourself into thinking you know why it is the way it is a real treat for me, given the fact that ML himself says they don't do game design documents. I need to stress this point. These documents are what keeps the team in line and on track for the most part. It's essentially a vision of what the final product should look like, rather than just letting people do whatever the fuck they want. It's like the equivalent of not having blueprints when building a fucking skyscraper. Further, while I don't know the actual reality of this particular issue, it seems to me, based on what we see in these games, that there is either no lore master, or the one they have is shit at his job, considering there are constant contradictions not only between different entries in their games, but even within single games on their own. There are contradictions to things done elsewhere in the same game, with the biggest example being whether ghouls need food and water or not. Fallout 1 says they do. Fallout New Vegas says they do. In Fallout 4, Kid in a Fridge says they don't. The settlement building system says they do. Eddie Winter says they don't. And Kent Connolly says they do. While that might seem like petty nerd shit to some people, stuff like this is the foundation of our understanding of this world. And Fallout 4 repeatedly contradicts itself on this point and contradicts previous games in the series. How and why did this happen? I can't say for sure, but it might have something to do with not having a lore master, not having design documents, and not being beholden to something someone wrote 20 years ago. He also mentions all of these challenges, again seemingly forgetting that every developer faces these same challenges. So yes, love games, buy them, play them, and complain to your heart's content. It's sort of the nature of the developer/player transactional relationship. You know, ML, having a developer/player relationship actually be transactional requires you to maybe listen to the criticism you joke about ignoring. It comes across as though this transaction to him is he makes a game, people buy it, and they complain and he ignores it.
No game
He spent this entire thread dismissing criticism. But just know that the game you're playing is in some ways a freaking miracle in and of itself. Normal people have come together to work for years for one goal, to bring you fun and happiness. So it helps to remember that. And them. This essentially boils down to, be happy that you got anything at all. Because it's a miracle that the game even exists in the first place. Which again feels patronizing. Also, to go back to a previous point, I genuinely do not care how many people put however much time and effort in to bring me fun and happiness when they fail to do so. I can understand and respect when hard work has been done, and I feel sympathy for people who do so and fail. But at the end of the day, that is not my problem in the goddamn slightest, and I see no good reason to go easy on them when they've been getting criticism for years and ignoring it and doubling down. They tried to do paid mods and got massive backlash for it, then went and did it again anyways. That's another core trait of Bethesda. If they want to do something, then by God they're going to do it no matter what. People hated paid mods, so when Steam decided to pull out, Bethesda came back a couple years later with the Creation Club. They got backlash for both this, and the fact that nothing on the Creation Club was included in the Season Pass for Fallout 4, which was advertised and is still shown on their site as containing all future DLC. Creation Club, by its nature, is DLC, and was not included in the Season Pass. This is also a worst of both worlds situation, as it was essentially microtransactions in a single-player game, but also paid mods. Neither label Bethesda wanted because both looked bad, especially since around that time, microtransactions were coming under heavy fire. Rather than dealing with this properly, Bethesda just put their head down and pushed right on through all the backlash, essentially giving a weak excuse and ignoring the rest of the justified anger and criticism until it died down, and Creation Club is still here in Skyrim and Fallout 4 to this day. Their pathetic excuse, by the way, again from Pete Hines, was that this was neither microtransactions nor DLC nor paid mods. They were like mini DLCs. It's Creation Club content. It's a new thing. They just invented a phrase to say that it was none of the things it blatantly and obviously was. And this was done to try to weasel out of the bad association of paid mods and microtransactions, as well as not having to give away all this garbage for free to anyone who had bought the Season Pass. Now I realize I did hit a bunch of other points here in regards to issues Bethesda has, but the main point should be very clear by now. ML Pagliarillo is absolutely an incompetent writer, and he should not be leading these projects. Even worse, this comes across entirely as though it's nothing more than a job to him, especially with Starfield. Rather than having any kind of passion or enthusiasm for the craft, I get the impression that he just does this because it's what he's paid to do. People who are passionate about their work, even if they're bad at it, don't turn in slop this fucking shallow and empty. Will all Bethesda's issues be solved if he's gone? No, not at all. But at least as far as the stories for these games go, we'll do better with ML gone. If a chef burns every meal he makes, he should be fired. If a surgeon loses every patient he has, he should be fired. If every story a writer makes is dog shit, they should be fired. It is clear as day that as long as ML remains as lead writer, or as project lead, or in any position of power at Bethesda, we will never get good games from them ever again. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe. I typically do long-form analytical videos covering movies, TV shows, and games, with more on the way. Earlier this year, I released the first 4 parts of my Fallout 4 analysis, which cover the base game, and I've started work on an analysis of Starfield, though that will take a while to come out as there's a lot of research that needs to be done for it. Though I am working on a much shorter review of the game in the meantime. I'm also a VTuber now, and I regularly do gaming streams, so come hang out if that's your thing. Walking down these stairs with you 3 in front of me, all of us holding engines, it feels like we just looted a fucking car dealership.
An average site in Detroit.
Sorry, the voices will not stop at chat. Give him a little smooch right on the lips. No!
Can you please launch her? No fun allowed today, I guess.
They're all lip and no suck.
Typical politicians. All cock, but no cum.
Alright. Thank you all for hanging out with me today. Give Creotosis a sub on YouTube. Likely another stream tomorrow. And then that'll probably be it until... well, yeah. Tuesday stream, yes. Then Friday is the update with what you call it? The Druid in Path of Exile 2. We will be playing that. Only God himself can stop me. Let's raid. Fidelita. Give them big love. Take care, everyone. See you tomorrow, probably. Bye. Love you all.